Okay, we are live. Let's give this a whirl. Welcome, everybody, to our Essential Wellness Community monthly educational event. We have a very special guest, our lovely Dr. Josie Schmidt. She is a naturopathic doctor. She is a Doterra Diamond, and she is also an Aroma and Touch instructor. And we are so blessed to have her constantly sharing her wisdom, her knowledge, and her expertise. I am honored to call her my friend, my dear friend, and a business partner. And she has a very packed class for you today. So I recommend that you take notes. And in Dr. Josie's style, our class is a little bit longer than an hour. So we're going to do our best to keep it to an hour and 15 minutes. This is recorded, so if you cannot stay for the extra time, we will post the recording. And then also, if you have a question, please type it in the box. We won't answer questions during the presentation, but at the end, we will stay online. We'll stop the recording, but we will answer questions that will actually take us over time. So if you want to stay for the Q&A part, you're welcome. And if you need to hop off. But again, that part will not be recorded. So, okay, Miss Josie. She's doing some sign language and over there. I'm going to pass it on over to you. So take it away.
All righty. Thank you, Aisha. I always forget this part. Thank you so much, you guys, about the webinars, is that while I'm the one talking, I'm flying blind. You guys all get to see me, but I don't get to see you. I mean, I don't get to see me. So, alrighty. I am so excited about this presentation. We had a wonderful live group this Monday night here in Portland, and now we get to record. And I was amazed at how many people. We had over 100 people coming to the presentation to hear about vitamins, and now we have a large group as well coming on. And so let's go with this great information, because over the years of working with Doterra, we, and I in particular, get so many questions specifically about the supplements, the Lifelong Vitality Pack. So I hope to elucidate and educate a lot of people's questions and answer them today. So my intention with this presentation is to go over some concepts that underlie why I feel and I teach and educate the need and desire for high-level supplementation in our world today. I'm going to be talking about some concepts like antioxidants and free radicals, oxidation and oxidative stress. These are some of the concepts that underlie what is going on in our bodies with living in today's world, and why supplementation and the need for a high-level supplementation is really advised by so many physicians like myself. So, and then I want to go through 4 of doTERRA's top supplements: their Lifelong Vitality Pack, which is their #1 selling item of everything they make, being an essential oil company. That has to spark some interest, right? Because the essential oil is not their #1 selling product. It's actually their supplements that have essential oils in them. So the Lifelong Vitality Pack, DDR, Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex, and the Mitomax. So these are the 4 I'm going to be covering today. And you're going to see a theme emerge as well. And really what that theme comes out to is, you know, we've heard you are what you eat. I'm going to kind of bring in a new concept, which is we're not so much what we eat, but we're more what we absorb. And that absorption is really what is key in high-level supplementation, because when you get into these higher-level antioxidants, very difficult sometimes for our bodies to actually take in and utilize, to absorb. And so what's very important when you're looking at this level of supplementation is bioavailability. So that's another term. Bioavailability is really how our body is able to actually utilize something. So it's not just eating it and taking it in, but how much are we absorbing and being able to actually grit to the grind use in our metabolism in our cells. So that's my intention. All right, let's go. I wanted to start with our wellness pyramid just to highlight again how Doterra really is a wellness company, and that today's presentation, we're really focusing on this foundation, right? The bottom level, which is green here in the pyramid of eating right. And that eating right does start with actually what you eat, what you take in terms of food. So there is a whole nother discussion on our diet and our actual eating practices and how that supports us. And that is so, so pivotal. What I'm going to focus on more right now and in this webinar is the need for additional supplementation to an already healthy, organic, wonderful diet. And when you have this foundation, this is where you're going to get the cofactors of vitamins and minerals that are needed to nourish us on a cellular level. Okay. So I just wanted to include one slide about kind of that, in a sense, making a statement and an argument for, well, wait a minute, I live in Portland, I eat organic, I have fruits and vegetables, I try and, my meat, try and mostly have it all from good grass-fed, farmed, healthy sources, these kinds of things. Do I really need to take a multivitamin? When I graduated from naturopathic school 19 years ago, I was kind of the opinion, no, you're good to go if that's, if that's your lifestyle. I don't really believe or subscribe to that anymore. We've just learned too much, even in the last 10 years, what has happened to our environment, let alone the last 50 years. So one of the statistics, and this is an old one, it's more than 5 years old, so the number's much bigger now, is that in the last 50 years, we have created into the environment 80,000 new chemicals. That this chemical revolution since, and it's 70 years now, since the 1950s, is so unprecedented to our biology, to what our bodies know what to do with, that we are, we don't know really what we're dealing with yet, but we're starting to see a lot of the consequences. And so there's that toxic load burden. That's just one thing. Plus then looking at this New York Times article, this idea that even when we're getting 5 or 6 servings of fruits and vegetables every day, which is what the USDA recommends, and most Americans don't get 5 or 6 fresh fruits and vegetable servings, that's cups a day, that nutrient value is so depleted from what our biology, what our bodies actually were meant to be receiving physiologically, right? So genetically. If you look at the picture of this little apple, it had what it originally 10,000 years ago, and this is where our biology still is, it had 100 times more phytonutrients, right? These are the high-level antioxidants that we're going to be talking about today than what we see in our apples of today. What makes things tasty and sweet and delicious, like in an apple, is not phytonutrients are by nature bitter, the flavor palette. So we've bred this out, and we are just not getting what we need from our food anymore at the level of the food that we have today. So this is the base. This is one of the baselines, plus then outside toxicity for our need for extra help in our body on a daily level. All right. So I just want to make this statement that, in my opinion, disease and aging is pretty much an issue of toxic cells and malnourished cells. All health, disease, and aging begins at a molecular and cellular level. And if we can bring in additional support to our cells to help nourish them with the needed nutrients, vitamins and minerals, and extra phytonutrition that helps to serve them in their process and scrub away the cell receptor sites and help get that clean from toxic materials that we are inundated with every single day, our bodies. If we can help support our cells at this level, we can really improve our energy, our aging, and prevent and help to heal our own bodies and our own selves from some of the degenerative processes that we're experiencing today. So I promised on Monday, and I'll promise you today, I tried to make the slideshow a little bit fun because we're going over some kind of more denser material. So here's one of my attempts to kind of bring in some of the concepts of aging, right? And aging is our cells getting older and dying, and it happens globally in our body. And it also is part of the process that is also what happens in disease, how our cells start to go awry in the same way. And two of the main things that happen at the cellular level with aging and disease processes are oxidation and inflammation. And these two, as you see this, are go hand in hand. So when one is up, the other goes up. They really work, they're spurred on by each other. And let's talk about oxidation, because in a lot of the natural health, natural healing world, this is a concept that we talk about, and I know not everyone's getting it, right? And so you do know it. And I'm put up these two images, right? When a fruit, an apple, goes brown, it is oxidizing. That is happening from an oxidation reaction. And the same thing with even the metal in the car. The car rusting is an oxidation response. When we choose to smoke cigarettes, the damage that happens to our lungs is an oxidation process in our bodies. And here's you see the picture, Benjamin Button, aging, our cells turning and getting older. That is an oxidation reaction in our body. Alrighty, so let's go into what exactly oxidation is. It is a reaction where, I love this slide, we are having too many electrons, okay, this oxidation reaction, and we are producing free radicals. So an oxidation reaction is where we produce extra free radicals. And I know people are like, really? What really is a free radical? Is it this picture as we looking at it, which is a great concept, but let's go into define what a free radical is. What is this thing that's produced in this oxidation cycle? A free radical, there we go. You're going to see I go a little crazy with these little electrons. A free radical is an unstable molecule with one or more unpaired electrons. That's it. So think about it like you see this robber down in the corner. A robber is one of these molecules going around, and the oxidation has produced it somehow now is unstable. It does not have enough electrons. And so it goes and it's trying to steal and grab electrons from neighboring cells around it. And it will do this. And in the process of it stealing an electron from its neighbor, the neighbor then becomes a free radical. I think it reminds me of zombieism, really. Like, right now they were a zombie, they got bit. Then I don't know. You can kind of think some fun metaphors, but they are robbing and stealing and then causing others to do the same. So it just keeps going in this domino-like reaction. And the cells that it steals from, they now become these free radicals. And in that state, they stop being able to do their normal job. They lose their productivity and their normal activity. And so you can see this kind of bad chain reaction that can start to happen. And this is called oxidation. Okay. I think I have a couple more electrons on the slide, right? So there's two kinds of free radicals. We have extrinsic free radicals. So that just means outside. Extrinsic means like outside of our body and ourselves, right? And so just, UV light, sunlight, radiation, all the types of pollution, the toxic chemicals that we are exposed to, infections, and smoking cigarettes. That's one that we're all pretty familiar with. That is self-imposed unless it's secondhand smoke. And this was a interesting study that was done by someone, and they found out that one puff of a cigarette smoke created 1 quadrillion free radicals in your body. So it's pretty amazing, right? There's a lot of free radicals happening and going on. You're like, wait a minute, one puff takes people a while to get really sick from smoking cigarettes. That's right, it does. Smoking cigarettes is one of the most direct ways we can really poison ourselves. But it does take a while. Why is that? It's because our bodies have our own intrinsic antioxidants and ways of healing things. We're going to go over that in a second, because let's go over intrinsic free radicals. So we have extrinsic free radicals. We also then next have intrinsic free radicals. The intrinsic free radicals, that's inside. So that's what's happening inside of our bodies. We have our own protective mechanisms inside of ourselves to heal. But we also have a lot going on in our normal everyday metabolic process that is actually creating free radicals of our own. So when we have stress, that creates free radicals inside of our body. When we're fighting infection, we have sickness, when we're producing our own inflammation from like a disease process, or from eating gluten, or from not getting enough sleep, right? Our body produces inflammation in lots of different ways, or exercising too hard. You see, there are things like exercising produces free radicals. The net benefit of your body and the conditioning, all the other things, is greater, but it does produce free radicals in the meantime. This is why high-level athletes need a very, very high dose of antioxidants. I'll talk about that. And we see that happening with them and how it really improves their health and their performance. But normal exercising, breathing, produces free radicals, this process with carbon dioxide and oxygen as we breathe it, eating. So we're under this total load of both our normal everyday free radicals of metabolism, but then our outside and our stress and what we come into contact with the outer world at the extrinsic free radicals. Okay, so that then, let's go to the next slide, is our, I'll get to that. That is our total oxidative stress. So I'll get to that in a minute. I just wanted to elucidate here, part of that normal everyday metabolism that produces free radicals happens, a big place it happens is in our mitochondria. So the mitochondria, isn't it cool? It's this little parts in the inside. Here's an actual slide where you can see it, the cell underneath in the microscope. It is the powerhouse of the cell. It is like, they call it the energy currency. It's what produces our energy money, man, in the body. This is where we get, it's called ATP, that energy currency in our body. And this is a place where we create, there's a lot of energy going on. So there's a possibility for a lot of free radicals to actually be produced. And one of the main things we see in aging and or disease, but in aging, is that we get fewer mitochondria per cell. They start to decrease. They have a less efficient output. They don't put out as much energy, ATP, and a more toxic exhaust. So the next slide we go to, they liken the mitochondria like an engine, right? It's producing our energy. So you have this output of your gas or your money, right? But the exhaust also is happening, and the same way it would in an engine, and that is the free radicals. And so as we age, when you're younger, you have tons of energy and output going on, and you have just kind of this normal amount of exhaust that you can handle. As you age, your muffler really starts to break down and you're not getting as much energy and, out and going as fast with your vehicle, with your car, with your body. And you're producing a lot more free radicals, a lot more exhaust. You're getting all these big plumes of gray smoke coming out, right? So this is that analogy. what we start to see just with the normal aging process as well. Okay, so yes. So all of that, your outside extrinsic, your inside intrinsic free radicals, and all of the things that are happening as normal life, plus then the toxicities and the stress that we come under, this is all what comes together as your oxidative stress. When we talk about that, when you read about antioxidants, one of the ways that people like to talk about it, and the FDA likes us to talk about it, is to refer to oxidative stress. And that's what that means, your total body burden load of all the different ways that you are experiencing stress on a cellular level from these free radicals. And the result is really these 4 levels of, I thought this was, I love this. Discomfort, less energy. I don't love it, but I love identifying this. Weakened immunity, sour mood. A lot of these, when this starts to happen in the normal course of your day, this is where you can really get an idea of when is my threshold for me being able to deal with my general level load of oxidative stress. When am I dipping down below my good level of health, right? Health is just, my greatest teacher defined health as the organism's ability to compensate, basically, to their total oxidative stress. So I look at it as this ongoing ladder, really, or wavelength. And you have your kind of medium level of health, and you load up on your ability to fight, and have antioxidants are a huge way of doing that, right? Good sleep, eating well, nourishing ourselves, all of these ways help us get above this just functioning level and be in optimum health. When we dip down below that level, we start to get into first just kind of these types of results. We feel cranky, sleepy. We're more prone to allergies. We get headaches, all of these kinds of things. That's when you know that you're actually dipping down below your level of compensation, and you're starting to get into decreased compensating of oxidative stress. It's kind of a whole different way of viewing what's really going on in your body and your life. And what I love about it is that you are empowered, because there's so many amazing tools, and I'm going to go over some of the most amazing I found in all of the purview of natural medicine so far to help empower you, me, us, to do something in the moment every day about this to help us compensate and get above that level into total optimum health. So we have tools, and the power is within us. It is our choice. I love it. So let's move on. So let's get into the juicy stuff. You're probably asking, what's an antioxidant, right? This is my image of what an antioxidant feels like in the body. So what is an antioxidant? All right. Sorry, you guys. Aisha is actually moving the slides along, and I'm talking. So sometimes I'm like, okay, that's what's going on. So antioxidants are stable molecules with 1 or more electrons to share or donate. Don't you love that definition? That is the actual medical definition. And so it's a really juicy and simple metaphor and definition to get into. We have the free radicals are these kind of unstable molecules that rob and take, right, and cause this kind of domino effect of crisis. Versus antioxidants, look at the picture, look at what they are, right? They are our beautiful vegetables and our fruit, and then we're going to go into our power ones as well. Our vitamins, our minerals, and they are stable molecules. They are the molecules of service, right? They come in and they're like, oh, I have an extra electron. Here you go. Mrs. Free Radical, let me give it to you to calm you down so you don't go causing problems and crisis further on along. Let's just get you all calmed down and stable, right? So it's a really perfect metaphor about that they come in and they are able to share and donate electrons. So one of the way that we really measure antioxidants and how strong and powerful they are is how many electrons do they have to share, and how much quenching can they do of this oxidation reaction in the body. And so some of the ones that we know, just general vitamins that along like vitamin C and E, they have, I'm not going to go into total, it varies, and I don't have those details. I have gone over them in the past. They can be at about like 10, have the ability of about like 5 to 10 electrons to kind of donate and give, and that's great. Some of the super big, powerful ones that I'm going to talk about today, their ability is in so much huger and larger. It's exponential in terms of their ability to share and how many electrons they have to give and how much oxidation that they can quench is the word they like to say, or stop. One of the examples I give is like blueberries and raspberries. Those blues and reds are beautiful berries that are great antioxidants. The scale that we use in medicine to talk about this ability to share electrons and stop oxidation is called the ORAC scale. Now, to make more sense, ORAC stands for oxygen, radical, absorption, capacity, ORAC. So the electrons create these oxidation reactions. So they're saying, how many oxidation reactions can this thing de-radicalize and stop? And so the ORAC value for the blueberries and raspberries and those reds and cranberries is about 2,000 to 3,000 on the ORAC scale. And the essential oils are in the 100,000s to the 1.5 million. Right? So you have the highest level antioxidant ever measured on the ORAC scale is clove essential oil. And 1 drop of clove essential oil has the antioxidant equivalent of eating 2 pints of blueberries, or eating 2 pounds of carrots, or drinking 2 cups of freshly squeezed beet juice. So that's going to give you an idea of some of these higher level superpower. I like to call them the big puppies, or sometimes I call them the fatty glues. That's just me. That's what I call my animals. I don't know where it came from. But this idea of these superpower antioxidants that are like above and beyond our everyday nutrients that we need in different ways for our basic grounds of really working with a lot of our metabolic processes. We still need vitamin C, we need vitamin D, we need vitamin E, we need the B vitamins. We need all these for our normal everyday detox metabolizing and our general metabolizing. But then these super antioxidants come in these superpower ways, really, in these huge exponential ability to fight off these chain reactions, and really they lead to disease, processes, right? So it's kind of it's at that upper level of fighting. I'm thinking of the Wonder Woman movie right now because I saw that last week, and it's like Wonder Woman power instead of just like regular, like me. I'm a Wonder Woman, but I don't think I'm not quite a true Amazon. I mean, I think I am, but you know what I mean. Okay, I guess it's time for the next slide. I digress. So we're looking at that idea of, as there are outside and inside free radicals, same thing with the antioxidants. We have the antioxidants that we take in from food and from supplements from the outside that we bring into our body. Our body also produces our own amount of antioxidants. The problem that we see is that in today's world, what is coming at us, even in our own inside and the outside, so vastly outweighs what we're able to produce and our own endogenous inside antioxidant production abilities, that it's outnumbered. And we just don't have the army that we need of the antioxidants if we just leave it up to our own body. And we need the antioxidants from our food and from the outside to actually give us the building blocks to make our own endogenous and intrinsic antioxidants, right? And so one of the things we see is just people's diets alone. Remember that first slide, they're just not getting the nutrient dense diet from eating food to be able to assist their body to make enough of their own intrinsic antioxidants inside. So we have to help our bodies to be able to do that. We have to give it more fuel, get it a better army. All right. So one of the things this then becomes, and we start to see, is it's not just a matter of living longer. It's a matter, he says here, I want to feel younger longer. In our aging process, you know, what we see happening in the world today is a very unfortunate aging in the last 20 to 30 years of people's lifespan of it's not very high quality, because people are breaking down, and their ability to stay in that optimum level of health through their 50s, 60s, 70s, let alone 80s and 90s, is becoming much more compromised. We see people, I see people living pretty compromised lives starting at 60 and 70 in terms of their quality of life. And so to be able to keep ourselves energetic and vibrant and have healthy immune systems, and to be able to, you know, be a senior in your 60s and 70s and 80s and be out there kayaking and vibrant and living the life that you want, I would premise that you really need to be proactive in your choices and your lifestyle and the kind of diet and supplementation that you bring in to help support your body to stay in this optimum level at a cellular level. All right. So the best way we can do this, that I have found in my 19 years of since I've let me see, hold on here. No, it's been 16 years since I graduated and practiced and been out in the world and looking at different doctor lines of supplements and additional supplemental nutrition, is this. It's the Doterra Lifelong Vitality Pack. This 3-pack, so 3 different bottles, 3 different supplements together packaged, and I'm going to break down and go through them. We have a Microplex which is a multivitamin and mineral complex. And what really makes it stand out is that it is a whole food multivitamin and mineral complex. The E Omega is a beautiful blend of essential fatty acids. It also has a carotenoid blend and our CPTG essential oils. And then the Alpha CRS is this complex 17 different high-level antioxidants. So it's an antioxidant complex that has 2 different blends in it. One that is really focused on cellular longevity and another on cellular energy. And these 3 together create the Doterra Lifelong Vitality Pack. And I hope at the end we will have time to maybe hear any stories, we might not, of people, the amount of shifts I have seen with individuals bringing this as a baseline to their health plus the essential oils. I truly believe and have seen and like to say that this is where the magic happens, when you bring the 2 of these together and are aiding and supporting your body to do what it needs to do. So let's start doing the deep dive now into the LLV, the Lifelong Vitality Pack. We're going to start with the Alpha CRS. So the Alpha CRS is a cellular vitality complex that contains potent levels of powerful polyphenols that protect cells from free radicals that can damage cellular DNA, mitochondria, and other critical cell structures. Do you understand that a little bit better now? Right? I'm hoping that from when you began this webinar to right now, and hearing that it means a little bit more about what is actually going on. Break it down with some of the key ingredients, and I have a couple other slides because I know everyone learns differently. So this is the pretty slide, in a sense, and the pictures for people to first get an idea of some of the main, as I would call it, heavy hitter ingredients that are in the alpha CRS. So we have things like the proanthocyanidins. These are the grapeseed. There's also pine bark extract, and there is resveratrol. These are all part of that same family that we call the OPCs, or the proanthocyanidins. Very high level antioxidants. We have a curcumin from turmeric root. We have quercetin as well, which is a bioflavonoid. And we have scutellaria root, which is a really beautiful herb. We use it in Chinese medicine and also Western herbal medicine. Incredible adaptogen to help with energy and the nervous system all around. And then boswellic acid. So boswellic acid is the standardized extract that is looked at when people are looking at frankincense. So when you go to look at studies and people are trying to measure different forms of frankincense, one of the things they always want to look at is that boswellic acid resins from frankincense, which is boswellia. And so in the alpha CRS, they have a standardized extract form of the boswellic resin acids. And let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to go over the two blends in alpha CRS. There's a couple extra things, but these are the ones I want to highlight for people. So in the cellular energy blend, right, that's what we're targeting, pretty much the mitochondria with the cellular energy blend and supporting that mitochondria. So one of the first things you see is quercetin at 50 milligrams, and then CoQ10, that's coenzyme Q10 at 50 milligrams. Alpha lipoic acid, 100 milligrams. L-carnitine, 100 milligrams, ginkgo, 40 milligrams. So for some of you, I know CoQ10 is probably the one that people might recognize the most in this list. That is considered one of the most crucial supports for our heart and the mitochondria in our heart muscle and our cardiovascular system and our energy, right? And look at these dosages. These are clinical dosages. These are relevant. These are at dosages where they've done studies and they've had great response and outcomes. So a lot of these ingredients people buy separately at one of a time, and they sell in supplement lines, right? You will pay between $20 to $35, $40 for a single 50 milligram bottle of coenzyme Q10 to get it just by itself. Out in the market if you go to any of the stores, and a lot of these other ones as well. They'll sell alpha lipoic acid on its own and acetyl L-carnitine. These are all geared towards really vitalizing with the mitochondria and a lot of our energy and our cardiovascular health in terms of supporting that. All right, let's go to the other blend, which is the cellular longevity blend. So here's where we see the boswellic acid. It's 200 milligrams of boswellia, and it's 20 milligrams of standardized extract of boswellic acid. Okay, so those are two different, the amount of actual frankincense is 200 milligrams, but the standardized extract that people want to know about is the 20 milligrams within that. So that's your frankincense in there. We have 30 milligrams of curcumin from turmeric. This is where you see those proanthocyanidins, the different kinds of the pine bark, and I'll see it is the 27. We have 50 milligrams of resveratrol. I know one company that I used to work with, I sold 50 milligram tablets of resveratrol, and it was retail $50, that one bottle. I want you to notice the 100 milligrams up there of milk thistle. Milk thistle is a very important herb that is very specialized, particular to our liver. When you think milk thistle, you think liver and liver support. There's a lot of different herbs that support our liver's processes. Milk thistle is the one herb that actually is shown over and over again. It helps our body to regenerate new liver cells. This is its specialized thing. So when you have anyone who has liver damage or high liver enzymes and liver activity going on, and they need to support their liver's processes, having daily milk thistle and 100 milligrams is very potent and a wonderful, wonderful thing to add in to one of these blends. So let's go to the next slide. And here is a breakdown of the whole thing, alpha CRS. So you see the things in there. What I didn't have was 30 milligrams of green tea leaf extract. A lot of people sell that all by itself. You see things there. And in addition, Doterra is always puts in their tummy tamer blend, the peppermint leaf, ginger root, and caraway seed to help your body just absorb and digest all of this a little bit better. Now, so do you see the power in this? I mean, when I was first started looking at these and looking at the formulation, I was blown away at the amount of power heavy hitters in this blend. Most companies will pick about 2 of some of these and put them up top, and then put in really inexpensive vitamins and minerals that are in synthetic forms, and they're just fillers. And what you're buying is those 2 at very high prices. Pretty much the highest, some of the most expensive anti-inflammatory. So this is where alpha CRS is really working on inflammation. Things, when you look in the natural market supplements, you're going to see the resveratrols, the OPCs, you're going to see the curcumins, and the frankincense, the boswellias. These are the 3 top things that we have in our natural kind of farmhouse to help mitigate and work against high-level inflammation in the body. And they're all very expensive. And so what you don't see is supplements that have all of these together. And and synergistically, what we know is that they've done studies and shown that frankincense by itself and curcumin, turmeric by itself, do not work as well when you put them together. And the synergy that happens, and they have a much stronger anti-inflammatory response. And so when you start putting a lot of these together, just imagine the exponential power that starts to happen in a blend like this. Okay, let's go on. So here's just some of the kind of statements that we speak about that are make the FDA happy. So about alpha CRS and a high-level antioxidant supplement like this, that it supports healthy cell proliferation, right? It helps your cells to stay healthy and to keep making themselves healthy, right? So not letting the robbers in that are going to cause destructive processes. Because it reduces oxidative stress, right? Not letting the robbers in, the free radicals. So it reduces oxidative stress to the DNA and other critical cell structures. It supports healthy inflammatory response to oxidative stress. And it helps support cellular energy in the mitochondria by supplying metabolic factors, right? And energy production. So it's helping to do all of that in your body. All right. So we have oxidation, aging, and inflammation. Let's talk a little bit about this inflammation thing. What does that really mean? What's going on in the body? Well, next. Oh, there we go. Inflammation. Okay. So when inflammation is happening, it is really a process with the oxidation. And I want to now go into, besides some of those high level antioxidants that we have also essential fatty acids. And these, and together, the essential fatty acids, EFAs, plus these high level antioxidants, these are what really help our body to deal with and dampen down inflammatory states in the body. So when we talk about essential fatty acids, we have 3, 6, and 9s. Okay, and the 9s, there's not that many of those, but the 3s and the 6s are what's really predominant in terms of our diet and then our supplementation. And so omega-6s are our essential fatty acids that are actually pro-inflammatory. So these are the ones that actually produce and create more inflammation in our body, the omega-6s. Okay, let's go to the next one. As compared to our omega-3s. So the omega-3 essential fatty acids can help to control and the ice, soothe down and dampen down inflammation. So I think I showed you a little bit of a precursor of where you're going to find your omega-3s. Let's talk about the difference between omega-3s and omega-6s. Here's your fun slide. So this is, you have your omega-6s and your omega-3s, right? And what we want to see is ideally a ratio in our diet. So in our dietary essential fatty acids. So what we eat from our environment, what is healthy and what would really help us mitigate against inflammation, right, and stay healthy, is to have a ratio of 1-to-1 of our omega-3s and our omega-6s. I put in the little prayer here because I was like, I feel like this is what we're doing. We're going along in our days going, please let it be enough what I eat for me to achieve a 1-to-1 diet. I hope, I pray, and I'm hoping and praying that just from my diet, I'm getting a 1-to-1 ratio, right? That's what we're hoping for. Well, the reality is actually, let's go to the next one. Wah, wah. That our dietary EFAs, the reality of the ratio is it's more like 15-to-1, omega-6s to omega-3s, that we are receiving about a 15-to-1 ratio of getting omega-6s in our diet and omega-3s. Now, here's a picture of fast food, and it's not just fast food, okay, that is getting us more towards this very unequal ratio. So this 15-to-1 ratio is what is leading to a lot of inflammation in our bodies. So let's go to the next slide. Really, a lot of what we see in our diet is, so it's not just, I wanted to point out here, like things like fast food, it's plant, these omega-6 plant oils. So a lot of where people cooking with canola oil and sunflower oil and having that in a lot of, like, I know in the early vegetarian type of like 70s and stuff diets, it was really pushed that those kind of oils were good for us. They're not. They're in a small amount, but the ratio is very far outweighed at this point with the amount of just processed food that we are eating. And so where you want to receive your omega-3s, it does come from some plant. So it's not all plant oils, but it's the plant oils that are like flaxseed and borage family. And this is a picture of the echium plant that is in the borage family that we have in some of our EO omega. But really the fish oils, so the small fishes, the sardines, mackerels, and those kinds of small fishes are where we're going to get our most intense and best omega-3 sources of oil. And so in terms of diet, I would say the omegas and taking an essential fatty acid of omega-3 supplement is so highly important, because you really need to be shifting that ratio from the 15-to-1 over from this side, 15-to-1, right? And getting it closer. Most people do not achieve anywhere near 1-to-15, right? Having super high levels of omega-3 and not very much 6. You want to have it like a 1-to-1. So you can see you really have to move the needle pretty far to go from 15-to-1 to just 1-to-1, okay? And so the need for an EFA supplementation is really high for almost all of us. So let's go to the next slide. And so let's look at the E omega. This is, it's a blend of land and sea. So the fish, the sea part, the fish oil concentrate is 950 grams of pure fish oil. It's in a balanced form of EPA and DHA, 300 milligrams each. And so for anyone who kind of shops around different EFA formulas, this is pretty important. You know, you want that level of about 300 milligrams in equal EPA and DHA. This is the form of the essential fatty acid that is very absorbable by our body and utilized right off the bat, and we get it straight from the fish, okay? And the fish that is used in the fish oil in the omega, the E omega, is incredibly safe. It's molecularly filtered, no pesticides, heavy metals. They do a very good job with that. So let's go on to looking at the breakdown of E omega. So there's a lot of stuff in here. I'm talking to a couple different levels in this, presentation. So I should have said this at the outset. But yeah, there's people who are new to supplementation at all, and people who are new to Doterra supplementation. But there's a lot of people who come in as practitioners who've been working for it for a while and are actually looking for some deeper specifics. So that's what I'm going to speak to a little bit now. And if it's kind of not where you're at, it's fine. Just kind of let it pass over and we'll keep going. But some things I want to point out here with the E omega, like, let's start at the top. So vitamin A is 2000 IU, and notice it's from alpha and beta carotene. So it's from natural sources. Again, you have the D3, the natural cholecalciferol, and that's at 800. So when you're doing these amounts, the LLV comes together. You have the E omega with the LLV. With the VMZ, the multivitamin. So these two work together, and you have to look at their numbers together if you're going to do any kind of comparison. So there's 7,000 IUs of natural vitamin alpha and beta carotene in the multivitamin. So it's actually a total of 9,000. So that's one thing to see when you're looking at the vitamin A. Same thing, there's 800 IU as well in the VMZ. So it's a total daily dose of 1,600 IU of D3. And then you have 50 IUs of E in the VMZ. So that's a total of 110. You have 60 here. And notice again, they're natural mixed tocopherols for the vitamin E. Okay. So then we have we see here this mix of the EPA and the DHA from the fish oils, 300 and 300 milligrams. And then there is this ALA, alpha linoleic acid, from echium seed oil, as well as SDA and GLA. So you have this great breakdown of what is coming from this echium plant in the borage family. And this is just a nice balancing effect to some of the fish oils. One of the differences between plant oil and plant omega-3s and fish omega-3s is the fish omega-3s are direct EPA and DHA, which is directly utilizable by the body, whereas the plant ones are not. They come in these other forms, ALA, SDA, and GLA, and your body has to convert them into EPA and DHA and then use them. So this is one of the reasons why doctors and people will tell you in a vegetarian diet you can supplement with the plant oils, but you have to do more, and it's not as good in a sense. It's not as, because you have to go through this extra step, and the step takes energy, and you also lose some of the value. And so because to even get this plant oil to the EPA and DHA form that your body can use. So the fish oil is just readily utilizable, whereas the plant oils, your body has to actually do some breakdown. What I like about the Echium is that it is about 10 times more utilizable by your body than flaxseed. So that in that conversion, the conversion of flaxseed is actually pretty poor. By the time your body converts the ALA in flaxseed to the usable form in your body, there's not a, it's a pretty low conversion rate. Whereas Echium, it's a much higher conversion rate. So whatever's in there, your body is actually able to use a lot more of it. And then I want you to see we have the pomegranate seed oil. I'm going to go over the astaxanthin, and that is from green algae, and also then the other carotenoids. And then the CPTG oil. So let's go on to the next slide. So we have these carotenoids also. It's not just fish oils and then the plant borage oil. What you can see is there's the alpha and beta carotenes, the natural vitamin A, but we also have lutein, lycopene, and the astaxanthin. These are powerful carotenoid antioxidants added in with the E omega as well. And one of the stories I mentioned was after about the first year and a half that I was consistently taking the LLV, a friend of mine who, she had this really neat machine that would measure your antioxidant level. And when I looked into it, really what it was is it was a machine that measured the carotenoid level. So it was specifically measuring just carotenoids, which is just this family of antioxidants, not all antioxidants. And, and she was coupling it with some really great supplements that her company sold that was specifically mostly about carotenoids. And so it used kind of this rainbow, and yellow was the worst. And then it went up to yellow, green, blue and purple were the best in terms of your highest carotenoid antioxidant value. And so she tested me, thinking that mine probably wouldn't be that high because I just had a few of these carotenoids. Like it wasn't as high as her supplement. And it was incredible. I was in the dark blue purple range. And so she was pretty blown away, actually. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. So the carotenoids that are represented in here are really incredible as well. And let's go over, I want to really bring a little bit of attention to this little algae extract, the astaxanthin. So it is from, it's a specific kind that is called Astacure, and it is a microalgae that is grown in desert climate, and it is specifically grown in this, and you'll see it's green as an algae. Now, what happens is when you expose this algae to sunlight, to UV rays, the algae's own intrinsic response of intrinsic antioxidants is, let's go to the next slide, is to turn it red. That's the process of the algae's response to the UV light, and it's letting go its antioxidants, and so the algae just turns into this bright red. And this bright red substance is the astaxanthin. And this is the second highest thing that has ever been measured on that OREC scale. You have clove essential oil, and the second one is the astaxanthin. And the astaxanthin it's what makes flamingos pink, right? Because it's the krill in the ocean eat this microalgae after it's been turned red. And so that astaxanthin in the microalgae, the krill eat it. And then things like flamingos eat the krill. And that's what makes flamingos turn pink. There's actually some flamingos in the world that don't get access to the ocean and to the krill, and they're white. And it's what we know it's what the whales live on, is krill in the oceans. So like this company Astacure, they're like, let's leave the krill for the whales, and let's not deal with all the toxicity that's actually in the ocean, because then you have to purify it out of the krill and and go through kind of cleansing processes that they don't want to do. Let's grow it ourselves in these farms. And so that's what they do. And this is the form of the astaxanthin that, let's go to the next slide, that we use in the E omega. And so that just shows you the algae from when it was green and then the red. It's just like this pure, intense dose of high-level antioxidant. All right, let's go on. And the last thing to highlight in the EO Omega blend is that there is this beautiful blend of CPTG essential oils in with our fish oil and our echium oil. And the measure of a, not the measure, but that all omega-3s are they have a lot of electrons to give, and so they're stable, but they want to give them, and so we call it labile. They're very sensitive to being robbed, and so you need to keep them safe in a dark bottle. They don't want to hit the light. They need protection. That's why we're very careful about all omega-3s, right? We need to not have them go rancid. They can go rancid very quickly, and rancid is just another term actually for that oxidation reaction happening in them. And so this CPTG formula is a beautiful way to help stabilize and protect. These are incredible natural preservatives, the oils. So that's really cool. But really, they're in there as a cardioprotective blend. This blend was chosen by Dr. Hill as something that can be gentle and good for everybody, and supportive in a general cardiovascular way. So let's move on. And just to know that there is a vegan EO Omega. And so looking here, see that large amount of flaxseed? It's 900 milligrams and you're getting 450 ALA, and then your body has to convert that into EPA and DHA. So that's why there's that large amount. But you're getting also, look at that, 288 milligrams of algae oil, and you have the beautiful Inkaichi seed oil, borage, cranberry, pomegranate, pumpkin seed. It's beautiful. It's and then it has all the rest of the things that are in the EO Omega. So this is a wonderful vegan source. And I just wanted, the next slide is to bring attention to as well that there is a liquid form, a liquid omega, and it does not have all of that I just highlighted that is in the EO Omegas, but it's just a pure, nice form of EPA and DHA from the small sardines and mackerels, fishes. And this is for children, and it tastes amazing. I've tasted a lot of fish oils in my life, and most of them are kind of funky, and you have to the companies will put weird flavorings, like key lime and stuff like that it tastes pretty weird. It's literally the best one I've ever tasted, and they have a little hint of the wild orange essential oil in there, and you can add it to a smoothie, sprinkle it on things, take it straight. It's one that we advise on top of the EO Omega if you're in a heavily inflammatory situation, that you can dose higher doses of omega with this on top of your EO Omega. So you can add in more teaspoons. Okay, so let's move on to the microplex. All right, there's a lot of questions. Oh gosh. I'm going to talk about something. This reminded me. So there's questions that arise about a couple different things in both the microplex and the EO Omega. So one question I wanted to answer about the EO Omega and the gel caps, oils in gel caps, is the issue that one of the ingredients is carrageenan. Carrageenan. It is a seaweed extract, and it is used usually in the processed foods and food industry for a thickener. You see it in all salad dressings that are on the shelf. You see it in ice creams that are now anything that they're trying to make less dairy or low fat. They'll usually put carrageenan in. You see it in a lot of the nut milks that are on the shelf to make them thicker. It's heavily used in the processed food industry, and particularly in the vegan and vegetarian processed food industry. When you take out animal fats, you need a lot of thickeners. So that the attention has been brought by great people. I've read particularly Andrew Wheel's blogs about carrageenan, that it is known now to be cancer causing. And so there's been attention to be reducing and avoiding this ingredient. And yes, that is a good thing to be monitoring and watching. What we want to say about the carrageenan that is in the EO omega is, so we've talked with Dr. Hill, who is the chief medical officer of Doterra, and in his creation. And he wants everyone to know that this is not an inner ingredient. They're not putting it in to kind of just like fill up space or thicken the gel caps, right? When they put, it is very, very specific. And besides that, which I'll get into in a second, it is a minute amount. So he's like, we use the least amount possible, and it's very small. But it is essential in the ability to put essential oils in a gel cap. No other company has been able to do that. And doTERRA wasn't able to do it at first. They worked very hard. And this was one of the essential ingredients in being able to have the oils in gel caps. So there's this minute amount of carrageenan in the EO omega and in DDR and in some of the other oils that are in a gel cap version. Otherwise, basically, the oils, if you put them in your own gel cap that you have, they'll eat through them in about 1 to 2 hours. You can't hold them in a bottle. You can't, and it's not even about that. It's not about being able to deliver them around. The idea is they're trying to get these gel caps to make it through the stomach and the stomach's digestion and get into the lower intestines and into these sites of absorption, so that we can have them targeted where our body is actually needing to absorb those nutrients. So that is a key aspect of some of those specific gel cap versions. And so I've worked with a lot of people, myself included, with Kate Kettlewell, with many, in the communities with autoimmunity and heavy autoimmunity, where people are really trying to avoid carrageenan. And what I can say is the benefits that are received through the LLV so far and above any other good doctor line supplementation so far outweigh the potential negative possibility of this minute amount of carrageenan. It's always won out. So I recommend weighing the benefits over that potential amount. And I don't know what it would be, but my guess is you'd have to take the LLV for like a year to maybe get the same amount of carrageenan that is in like 1 cup of soy milk, something like that. So it's something to ponder. All right. I wanted to cover that because that's a common question. Sorry, Aisha. Can we go back to the last slide? I know where people have had time to read about this patented glycoprotein matrix. It was a good place to stop. So this is the center of the microplex of EMZ, the patented glycoprotein matrix. It is I guess you guys have been reading it. I like to read it aloud, but hopefully you guys have been reading it. And I'm just going to say here, it is a patented matrix to help promote, again, remember that theme, bioavailability. To make a vitamin glycoprotein compound, this vitamin is introduced to a culture of lactobacillus and yeast. As it grows, the yeast metabolizes and binds the vitamin into its protein matrix, making that vitamin more recognizable as food in the digestive process. The food-derived minerals in the VMZ are also similarly cultured in yeast to promote bioavailability. This is the cornerstone of the glycoprotein matrix, you guys. It is what makes it so very different, this whole food vitamin and mineral complex. And let me say, so let's go to the next slide and we can look. Here's a visual of this process of you have the nutrient being absorbed in by the yeast, and now the yeast has gone through and it's a fermentation process. Actually, it's quite cool. And it's incorporated it, and it's now an actual kind of living food, this nutrient inside this protein matrix. One thing I want to elucidate is the yeast is Saccharomyces cerevisiae. It's the same that is used in brewers or nutritional yeast. And it is not the kind of yeast that promotes dysbiosis or an imbalance of a yeast or a yeast-like overgrowth in one's body. We have not seen that. We don't see that supported in any way. If you have been fighting an imbalance of yeast or a dysbiosis in your microbiome and in your gut, this is actually going to be very beneficial, and it is not going to be something that you think of as, oh, this is yeast and I want to avoid. No, that's not that kind of yeast. Okay. So this is just breaking it down a little bit more for people. So the glycoprotein matrix are nutrients presented in a format for improved absorption and bioavailability. And then the minerals are combined with an amino acid that also help them, again, be utilized by our body. Because one of the things, let's go to the next slide, that we know is that so many vitamins, especially vitamins that are not whole food. So the majority of vitamins on the market are isolated synthetic vitamin sources. Even our my good naturopathic brands, most of them are. And they are just not seen by our body in the same way as the process like this that is the whole food. Our body looks at them very differently, and we're starting to see that it's not such a great thing to be supplementing with synthetic isolated vitamins. And we just see the proof in the pudding with everyone we have seen utilizing this, and the vastly different responses they are receiving from this and from their body being able to take in and utilize this nutrition. So if you go down and you look at the different vitamins, you're going to see that most of them are purported, thiamine, B12 as glycoprotein matrix. And some of these sources you cannot compare with at the levels. You don't want to compare the amounts with synthetic isolated ones. And so when you are looking up conditions and you're seeing, I should take 1,000 milligrams of calcium a day, or whatever these kind of things have told us, or like 800 micrograms of folic acid, which those are all based, the USDA's, even the natural medicine ones are based off of synthetic isolated nutrients, okay? Those amounts are like, how much of this heavy hitting bulldozer do you want to try and be bulldozing at our cells receptor site? Because the cells don't recognize those nutrients the same way, and you have to like flood it with so much for a little bit to get into the cell. Whereas with a whole food, it recognizes it as food and it just goes right into the cell. It has much, much different bioavailability and absorption. And so those old amounts that we think of, they're not really as comparable. It's kind of like comparing apples and oranges. So that's one thing I want people to really know, take home. And you'll notice, look at folate. It's from a natural form from citrus lemon peel extract, and it's only 400 micrograms. You do not need as much natural folate as you do of folic acid that from a synthetic form. And then same with the minerals. They are in a whole food form as well. And notice the proprietary whole food blend here. So you're also getting actual whole vegetable forms like kale and dandelion root. We have this active enzyme blend, all the A's in here, as well as the tummy tamer herbs. Together, all of this is what is coming together to have this multivitamin mineral that is so absorbable in our body, and why people are reacting so differently to it than they have other vitamin sources in the past. All right, let's go on. So one of the take-homes to the 3-pack, the LLV, is that when you are taking this, you are receiving 12 plus servings of fruits and vegetables. Wow, right? That's a big take-home. So the USDA and it recommends 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day. just taking the LLV, you're receiving 12 or more. Okay. So I want to get into the remaining 3. I'm going to go quicker through these supplements. The LLV is really the mainstay, you guys, really. But these 3 are just so super powerful and heavy hitting. 95% of cancers are not genetic in nature. Genetics is a component. It's usually a pretty small component. It is estimated that 95% of all cancers result from damaged DNA. Next. And so this is an old quote. Don't quote him or us on this, but I do have it and I wanted to share it from Dr. David Hill. The cancer equals the absence of repair in our DNA, that we need cellular protection every single day. And essential oils can help protect your body against damage to the DNA, right? So remember everything we've been learning today about the robbers and then the stable givers, right? The antioxidants, and how you can, that whole process of starting that domino reaction of robbing actually can then start cells to go haywire and start to damage the DNA. So quenching down this process and giving protection to our DNA every single day is what is going to help stop a buildup of that kind of reaction happening. And that buildup is what leads to an actual disease process. So let's go on to the next. So DDR stands for DNA, damage and repair. So this is, it's actually Dr. Hill's, the pièce de résistance for him and his career. He took a long time in formulating this, and it is a beautiful formulation of frankincense, wild orange, lemongrass, thyme, summer savory, clove, and neuli, which is a form of melaleuca. It's an essential pure CPTG essential oil blend that you can see in the bottle. We can use topically, but really the intent, the biggest intention was putting this in a gel cap. And this is where he came up with the gel cap formulation. And these DDR prime gel caps are meant to make it all the way down through the stomach and passed into the intestines for maximal absorption, right? With that formulation. He created this for daily cellular support of DNA damage and repair. This idea is that the blend, let's go to the next slide. The blend is certain oils were picked. There's a lot of overlap, but they were chosen to help support in different ways. Some of them have more support into actually helping to prevent DNA damage. Others are there once the DNA gets damaged, can we repair it? And if you can't repair it, can we go into a healthy cell death? That's called apoptosis, where you want the cell to go through that healthy cell death and have the body rid it, rather than cells that don't do that and stick around and start to cause more oxidative stress and damage. Those are the robbers that keep that chain reaction going. So this is the breakdown of studies from some of these oils and some of the ways that the formulation came about. So let's go to the next one. And I just wanted to go over a couple points about DDR. I like to highlight the thyme, which is one of the ingredients in here, just because daily thyme is also wonderful for your hormonal support, particularly your progesterone. As we grow older, this is something that we, as women, we really want support with our progesterone levels. And so to be taking in an internal formula where we have a little bit of frankincense every day and we have a little bit of thyme every day is really, really beneficial to our overall hormone balance. But one of the big things we see with particularly frankincense, and then they did a study themselves with DDR, the blend itself, where they showed with basically tumors and cancer. So the study was looking at these tumor cells, how the tumor cells blocked the body's ability to bring the immune system in to fight it. And what they found was that the DDR formula stopped the tumor cells from blocking the immune response. So the tumor cells were trying to block it. And with the DDR, they weren't able to block the immune system. The immune system was able to get in and break down the tumor. And then what tumors do is that they create a highway of blood vessels, angiogenesis, around the tumor to feed it. That's the highway to the blood, and like help the tumor grow. And the DDR also stopped the angiogenesis, the growth of all those blood vessels to feed the tumor. Really, really great stuff. So, and here's the other way to talk about what I just said, which is DDR was shown in studies to promote a healthy response to free radicals while supporting healthy cellular function. And I like to also give the one detail of that. Aisha has talked a lot about her process with her recovery and her working with Lyme. And during that process, she had a really high inflammation level, right? Cellular inflammation working against, it was unhappy that there was this Lyme disease and invaders in her body, and her body was having this whole inflammatory response to it. Fibrinogen is one of the markers in the blood that we use. It's one of the best markers to sort of measure the body's inflammatory response. And so the whole time she was working with everything that she was doing, she was still having a very high inflammatory response, and it was at a level of 248. And then we came out, the DDR came out. She had changed nothing, was doing all the same things that she had been doing, which was a lot of huge, great protocol. And the only thing she added was DDR. And she had her blood work taken before, and then 2 months later, after bringing in 1 capsule of DDR twice a day, and her fibrinogen went down almost by half. What is that, 148? And she also had a really good cholesterol reduction. So we see this happening with this, so DDR having such a profound effect for people with an inflammatory response and just general dis-ease processes. So DDR has become one of my absolute recommended favorites to go along with the LLV for total whole body oxidation and inflammation support and response, right? To keep ourselves healthy as we age. So one of my teachers flippantly said once, basically this whole thing of anti-aging and aging, we're just doing our best to not have the last 30 years suck. That's always stuck with me. And, it's that, right? And the thing I found to help you have the last 30 years be your best and not suck, in his terms, is a combination, is the LLV plus the DDR, and then using your oils daily. All right, let's go on to the last two. I know I'm gone long. I am sorry, you guys. I'm going to try and go really quickly. I just want to talk about these two because they are so powerful and potent. And my joke is here, right? I talked about these super big puppy antioxidants, right? There's some antioxidants that are in a whole other category, right? Curcumin is one. I've talked about them. Those OPCs, those proanthocyanidins like resveratrol, are another. Frankincense and boswellia is another. These are all very high level antioxidants. And so you see here, my big puppies, we have a frankincense extract in these next two supplements. The first one is called the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex. And that one has these two things in it. A very specific frankincense extract called Aproflex, and a very specific curcumin extract called BCM 95. And then the Mito 2 Max, has a very specific supplement in it, form. It's called a ligonol, and it is a very specialized form of lychee berry plus green tea together. What all three of these, the ligonol, the BCM 95, and the Aproflex, have in common is that they are all very specific formulations of these high-level antioxidants to make them more bioavailable by our body. So as I talked about, the bigger an antioxidant gets, the more powerful it gets, the less absorbable actually it is to our bodies. So that idea like it's so powerful, but then it's big, it's this big puppy, and we're not able to get it to move in through the cell wall and to get absorbed so as easily. So the name of the game in terms of companies trying to come up with these superpower, these kind of Wonder Woman superpower antioxidants, is in terms of their absorbability and their bioavailability and getting them into the cell. So that's what these three formulations have in common. They are all specifically formulated to like massively increase the absorbability of the frankincense, the curcumin, and the lychee berry. All right, so let's go on to the next. Here's just my, I guess I was doing it, here's my cell going through the cell, and I just wanted to illustrate that point of having not the bacteria and virus, but then the ability of things to be able to move in through the cell wall. We know this about what makes our essential oils so special, right? Our essential oils are freely able to pass through our cell walls easily and get inside the cell, outside the cell. For our big antioxidants that are not essential oils, they don't have that ability. They're stuck outside the cell wall the way bacteria is, and we want to get them inside the cell wall. And you have to do special things to them and formulations to help them be much more absorbable. Okay. So here's the deep blue polyphenol complex. And this formulation has actually, I don't like the term, but it has been likened to natural prednisone. It has the potential of being that strong in our bodies, in working with our body and being an anti-inflammatory, but naturally without the side effects of really messing with your body the way that steroids can do, which is what prednisone is. So the Aproflex is a frankincense extract. It's at 100 milligrams, and this has many clinical studies. It's been kind of looked at and proven and worked with for a long time, and it really has about a 50% more absorbability, a higher absorption rate than regular good clinical frankincense. So it is a very, very high level form of absorbable frankincense. And I want you to look down below and see that 300 milligrams, I'm going to kind of skirt over this and go quickly, of ginger extract. Ginger is one of our most potent anti-inflammatories, and 300 milligrams is huge. It's beautiful to bring in this frankincense extract at 100 milligrams together with this 300 milligrams of ginger. And then I didn't highlight it here, but the BCM 95. Let's go to the next slide. I think I'm just going to talk about it for a second. Yep. So you'll see the extra, and there's still a couple other ingredients. I'm going to highlight then this turmeric BCM 95. It is at 250 milligrams, you guys. That is a large amount, but what we know about BCM 95 is that it is a standardized form of curcumin together with curcumin essential oils, standardized extract of curcuminoid essential oils. So you have the curcuminoids plus the curcumin essential oils, and together this combination is 7 times more powerful than the combinations of curcuminoids, of the curcumins, that companies have been using together with the black pepper extract, that's piperine, that formerly have been using to make curcumin more absorbable, right? So we know that curcumin from turmeric is not very absorbable in the body. So we looked at Ayurvedic medicine and saw, it works, that there's something in the black pepper that helps it get into the cell. And so that was the first generation of doing curcumin with black pepper, and it worked a lot better. We got a lot more into the cell. But now this is curcumin, the curcuminoids, plus the essential oil of the curcumin together, and it looks like it's about 7 times more powerful than that generation of using the curcumin with the black pepper extract. And so you take that 250 milligrams, and when you're comparing it to other things on the market that are high level forms of curcumin with black pepper extract, times it by 5 to 7 in the amount. So that's about at least 1,200 milligrams of curcumin equivalents in terms of what's getting into your cell in this supplement, plus about 200 milligrams equivalents of what's getting into the cell of frankincense, plus the 300 milligrams of the ginger, plus then you have the green tea and the other OPCs. This is a power-packed, heavy-hitting supplement that is absolutely incredible against inflammation. Okay, let's go on. And then Mitomax. We think of Mitomax as an energy and stamina complex. It helps build up and keep safe and help increase our ATP in our mitochondria, creating more stamina, oxygenation, energy, and mental clarity, improving all of these things. I want to highlight it's 3 different formulas really in here that are coming together to make the Mitomax. We have the adaptogenic formula, so we think of this for the adrenals, for helping in whole. When we say increasing energy and stamina, let me back up. Someone asked, does that have any stimulants in it or caffeine? Because most things we hear these buzzwords of like, increases your energy, increases your stamina. People think, uh-oh, here we go. There's probably caffeine in there or stimulants. Absolutely not. So we are increasing mental energy and ATP and stamina and mental clarity because we're helping to support the nervous system in this beautiful adaptogenic formula. What that means is helping to support your adrenal health and your basic cellular energy without any stimulants at all. Definitely no caffeine. So cordyceps, ashwagandha, and oregano are the 3 main ones in here. And cordyceps and ashwagandha are beautiful, coming from traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine. They are powerful adaptogenic herbs that have helped support the body in so many ways for such long periods of time, and ancient medicines have used them and are lauded. Oregano is this new formulation of lychee fruit, again, an old lauded antioxidant in Chinese medicine, but again, big and not able to pass through the cell. This is a Japanese company that has worked a long time and created this formulation of the lychee together with a green tea extract, and the green tea works to help get the lychee into the cell, and it's very, very powerful. So let's look at the breakdown in Mito2max, because those are only 3 of the ingredients. What I want you to also look at is you have some ginseng in there. And you have things like CoQ10 and quercetin at nice amounts, and alpha-lipoic acid, 50 milligrams of each of those. But then look at the acetyl L-carnitine, HCl. That's the really good form of acetyl L-carnitine with the HCl. And it's 600 milligrams. This is a really high clinical dose, a really good dose for, you look at with athletes, you look at for people with issues with energy and with circulation, with their cardiovascular system and wanting to help support that, with their heart health. So it's a really strong dose and a great dose. When you look at oregano and some of the research with lychee in this, it's really interesting is it is forced look at that circulation support, really helping to move the qi, the blood, the energy flow, and the circulation within the whole body. But literally also for things like cold hands and feet, Raynaud's, really helping actually microcirculation all throughout the body. So you think of it as mitochondrial, so energy support, circulation support, and then adrenal support all together. Okay, let's go. And I had this at the end comparing to notice that difference. A lot of this stuff is in alpha CRS. We have the quercetin, the alpha-lipoic acid, the acetyl-L-carnitine. So most of the time we have people start, let's go to the next slide. Okay, what I want to point out here is just that this is where you find great information. You go to doterra.com on any of the supplements I have talked today. You go under and you look on doterra.com, there's supplements. And then all of these are in daily, the LLV is in daily vitality. And what I want to point out is you'll have a breakdown of each of these. and all of the ingredients, but you can also go to the more information and see that PIP, that stands for Product Information Page, PIP. You pull that puppy up, and that is a huge breakdown telling you the concept of why everything is in there, what they thought about in creating that, key studies that support it, vast amounts of great information right there on Doterra's website about all of their supplements. And the next slide is just for the Mitomax and the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex and the DDR. Those are under specialized supplements, okay? Same thing, home supplements and then specialized supplements. So that's how you find if you want to dig in and get to more information. So what I was then bringing to the close is this idea with our supplementation and a baseline for yourself, for a loved one, or if you're a wellness advocate and you're working with someone. It's looking at, if you have anyone in a state of chronic dis-ease, let's say autoimmunity, something like that, where we usually start is the LLV. Does that now make sense? The Lifelong Vitality Pack. Starting off with that, you notice the heavy hitting things in Deep Blue and Mitomax, most of that at smaller levels in a more rounded out formula is in the alpha CRS already, right? So this is a wonderful place to start it with the LLV, and I usually start people at the half dose, see how they do for a couple weeks to a month, and then bump them up to the full dose, okay? Get their body used to it. When we're in states of chronic disease, even the half dose of the LLV can be like a lot, can come into your system and be like, whoa! And there can be some detoxification that happens. You want to go slowly. And so that's why you start there. And then what we see after the body is starting to get used to this response and it's working and it's healing, there's an increased need for some of these high-level antioxidants, especially if there's a lot of stress and things from the outside or genetically from the inside still happening continually. So you start slow, but then with deeper, more chronic and multiple situations of dis-ease, what we find a lot of the time is we will slowly start to add on from the LLV, not always, but DDR, Mitomax, and or Deep Blue, because there is an increased cellular need for these nutrients, for these high-level antioxidants. Some people actually, a lot of people need all of them. It's very interesting. Yeah, interesting. I did hear down below at the same time that the Deep Blue and the Mitomax were created, they came out with the 2-box, right? So you notice the only difference between the Lifelong Vitality Pack and the Daily Nutrient Pack is that the Daily Nutrient Pack doesn't have the alpha CRS. It has the microplex and the EO omega. So they thought that maybe some people would just do the Deep Blue and the Mitomax with the Daily Nutrient Pack. What seems to be the case for many, many, many people is that they prefer to work with all of them. They prefer the alpha CRS too. So having that, the LLV as a baseline, and then adding on the DDR, the Mitomax, and the Deep Blue. So, there we go. I think, Aisha, is that, do you want to?
No, go ahead and wrap it up.
Okay, I'll wrap it up. I do apologize, everyone. When I did the Monday talk, it was shorter. I guess I had a little more to add in. What I want to bring to bear here is it's the incredible nutrition included in the Lifelong Vitality Pack, but the price tag on this is what kind of tipped me over the edge into retiring from private practice and working full-time and aligning myself with this company. To see the amount that you receive in all 3 of these bottles and the price tag that they put on it, it is absolutely, I cannot achieve this with any other company. So you'll notice here are the individual wholesale prices. Let's see what the actual price, let's go on. And if I try and put together an amalgam of the 17 incredible at those levels, ingredients that are in the alpha CRS, plus what is in, it's not just fish oil, all that is in the carotenoids, the astaxanthin, everything that's EO omega, and then a whole food multivitamin and mineral complex. This is a low number. My number in my doctor line companies comes up to between $300 and $400. So, and it's many, many bottles too. The idea of being able to bring all of that down into just 3 doable supplements that you can actually take every day is phenomenal. It really shifted for me this idea of medicine for the people. This is supplemental daily, high level nutrition that almost everybody can do and afford. So let's look at the price tag of what the LLV actually is. The Doterra Lifelong Vitality Pack. When you work in with the Doterra Loyalty Rewards Program, it is $79.50 at full dose of a monthly dose of the 3 of them in a pack. That is just phenomenal and mind-blowing. I have not seen an offering like this in any other company. So thank you so much, everyone. I am sorry for going so long. I hope it was helpful and beneficial, and we can have some questions. I can take some questions if people want to. I don't know if we're going to stop the recording, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Josie. I always learn so much from you and appreciate all that you share. It is a long webinar, but a very dense webinar packed full of really valuable information. So thank you so much. So I'm okay. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Okay, sorry, I was trying. Yeah, you just muted yourself. Okay.
I'm not sure where I ran. Hold on, let me go back here. Oh. Okay, let me start over. Sorry about that. If you are not a wholesale member, we invite you to join us. This is going to get you your very best price on product. And so please talk to the person that invited you to this webinar and they can help you get set up. And if you came to this webinar via the internet, Eventbrite, one of our Facebook pages, please email us at info@essentialwellness.life and we will get you started. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording here. So thank you all so much for joining us. And if you hang on a moment, then we will move to the Q&A. So just give me a moment to stop recording.